welcome to Sky's the Limit. I'm your host Sharmeen Ali. This week I'm very excited to introduce our guest to you because she is a young entrepreneur. She's a woman who was born and bred in Pakistan, and she's one of those young leaders who you're going to find in the future who's going to be doing extremely well in the field of technology and healthcare in Pakistan. So today I'm going to just go right ahead and introduce you to our guest of our program. Her name is Sundas Wahid, and she's the founder of DentiNect. Thank you so much, Sundas, for joining us on our program.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to be here on air with you today, Sharmeen.
Right. It's COVID times and extremely challenging to put these programs together. So
we're ensuring the 6 feet,
yes,
6 feet
the
difference.
distance, and you've been very patient also because we've had a lot going on. Also, for this recording, let me begin now. I want to talk about you as a person because to start a business in Pakistan, especially as a woman, you need a lot of guts. And secondly, most of the women tend to go into traditional sort of businesses like catering or designing boutiques and all, restaurants, etc. You've gone into something totally different from before, and that is healthcare, which includes dentistry and also technology. You've sort of melded the two together. So congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
It's amazing. You're a pioneer. Let me begin by asking you about your journey. Which part of Pakistan are you originally from?
I would not go really into the ethnic background, but I would say I'm a very global Pakistani, not restricted to any region, and I was moving across Pakistan, but most of the times I was based in Islamabad and for some time in Karachi.
Okay, and what was your family doing? Was, your parents, were they also entrepreneurs, or were they something completely different from what you're doing right now?
No, they had a very different background. They were into very stable jobs, and they were into jobs that were more of a very higher, superior skill set. And the entrepreneur word was introduced to the family by me going into it. So I was actually the trendsetter in the family.
So you had a very sort of 9-to-5 sort of a family and all of that stuff. And you're growing up, you said you've been all over Pakistan and all. What kind of childhood did you have? Was it very relaxed and, or was it something that a lot of people see struggle, so due to that they want to create something for themselves and their families? What was a motivating factor for you in your upbringing in childhood?
I would rather say that I do come from a very privileged background, so I always had a jump start in that trajectory. But I mean, leaving it and abandoning it for being very conventional and kicking it as a dogma was somewhere where I actually tipped. Everything was smooth and fine. I just went to my dental school, got good grades, and I was a good student.
Dental school, where was that?
It's based in Karachi, and it's a university. I would not rather take name. But then I got into training, specialty training, and for all my life I wanted to get out of Pakistan. I just be honest about it. But one thing or another led me to stay here in this amazing country, and that's where I think destiny met. So it was during my residency where I actually studied into markets and the difficulty and the gaps between specialist and GP portfolios, and that's where DentiNect was born.
Okay, right. So you're an orthodontist, basically.
Yes, I am
by
an orthodontist.
profession. So I should be calling you Dr. Sundas.
You can call me anything you want to, but I would be more than happy to be called by that.
Okay, so why did you choose becoming an orthodontist?
I was, I was actually pushed into being a doctor by my mother because she came from the same profession. And then there's a certain, comes a niche when you have the DR with you. But orthodontics being because I thought it's going to be easy, and I thought there would not be any night duties. And of course there weren't. And at that time it looked like a amazing opportunity because of number of financial reasons, and you make good earning for yourself. But later on, when I went to that gruesome conventional setup in a local training center, that's where I realized that there was a huge opportunity that was lagging. So let's mesh the conventional clinic with technology and make our outreach more to a number of people.
Right, okay. So your training was done predominantly in Pakistan?
Yes, all throughout Pakistan, except for these very small snippets of exposure that I had in exchange programs or traveling on personal.
Right. And what challenges did you face as a student with your research, etc.? And you had mentioned on your website that there were certain reasons that caused you to want to start a company of your own.
Of course, there were a number of challenges. I was not actually able to pull through my specialist cases. Then there were challenges in the research because I was not really taught that during my undergraduate. And when I look at it and I stepped back and I look at it at 360, I thought these were the challenges that were being faced by almost 35,000 general dentists in Pakistan. So how about we...
Which was what challenge exactly?
The challenges itself was acquiring the proper skill set. It becomes a difficulty because after 5 years of your training, getting into a training specialty, it becomes more and more difficult. You know, you have to go for your exams and then it gets more difficult up the curve. The other challenges were that research was not in an impact factor. So we literally didn't have any researchers who were going for international journals and publications. Then third challenge was there was not any conducive environment for being taught because most of the times you were always in fear that you have to sit for an exam and then you have to get out and then you have to become a consultant and you have to have this degree to climb up the ladder. So those were the three basic challenges. And then the learning pool, it's very limited. You don't get the exposure to actually communicate with people outside who are at a better position, in better hospitals, in better academia, because you're in a very small pond. And mainly because of economical reasons. I mean, 99% of us do face that. But the 1% who do not, they don't have the gut to actually do something that's very unconventional that we did through DentiNect. Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically to get more of that exposure that you need and opportunities.
Opportunities, exposure, research impact factor 0, not adapting to what are things going on international level. So there are so many things. It's not one thing that we're talking. And then, of course, not a conducive environment.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
it's very difficult. They make it very, very difficult. Even the simple things very difficult.
How is that exactly?
The difficulty index, I mean, it's 11 out of 10.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So now, in your family, like, are you a lot of siblings? Are you?
No.
No.
We were only 3.
3. Okay. And like, were they all in the medical profession?
No, I was
the only one.
You all
did
did
different things.
Yes,
you were the
I was
only
the only
one. Okay. And you chose to go into dentistry and then orthodontics, and you faced these challenges that you were just talking about. Now, your company, I mean, being a female in Pakistan, you were living in Islamabad.
Yes, and I was traveling in between.
Is there anything that inspired you? Did you see this sort of model somewhere else in the world and you were like, we should bring this to Pakistan?
No, it's a completely original model. Even our neighbors were not doing it, if we talk about our bordering neighbors. And what we did is that we meshed too many problems and we looked for too many solutions and we brought it all together in one platform. That's what we did. So if you look at it, it's not a horizontal growth pattern, because in horizontal growth pattern what you see is something that's already tested somewhere and it takes less of a risk. It is completely vertical. What we're doing at DentiNect is something that's unheard of. It's something that's not been done before, and it's very disruptive at the same time. With, of course, very risky, but we did take a jump start or leapfrog, I would rather say.
So your company, DentiNect, it provides oral health solutions 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What exactly does that mean? From when you think about dental solutions, you think about going to the dentist's office and sitting in one of those reclining chairs and getting work done. How does this work, or oral health solutions on an app? How does that work?
Okay, it's an app and a platform run on a desktop. So what actually happens is that at this very point, we're just targeting a very niche market, that's orthodontics. And in general terms, I would say where you straighten the crooked teeth with the help of metal braces or devices known as metal braces. So what actually happens is that once you go to a GP does not really have an orthodontic skill set, because that takes like 5 years of training that I went through. And most of the patients reporting to a general dentist does not really know that this dentist is not skilled enough to treat you.
Are there actually general dentists practicing orthodontics?
See, Actually, 99% of them are doing it.
Really?
Yes.
And they're not actually orthodontists?
No, they're not. Because we only have 53 registered orthodontists in Pakistan
53?
out of 35,000 GPs.
Okay.
So what happens
And that's
is,
legal? I'm just
It's-
wondering,
yes.
there are no controls over that?
in certain areas of the world, it's not legal.
Hmm.
But in Pakistan, I'm sorry to say, there aren't any regulations around it.
Wow,
So
okay.
me, on my residency, realized that I was switching my role as a general dentist into a specialty. And this is where you need a lot of skill set as compared to other specializations. So you as a patient, Sharmeen goes to a general dentist, she has crooked teeth. A general dentist does not have a skill set, and he simply takes Sharmeen's records, puts them on our platform, and then shares it with the in-house inbuilt portfolio of orthodontic specialists. They evaluate your record. On a basis of evaluation of those records that are simple radiographs and pictures, the artificial intelligence automates the denture base or their x-ray, and the supervisor, who is an orthodontist, would actually be providing supervision to Sharmeen's case for recurring appointments. So you're actually getting 88% amazing outcomes on the patients despite the fact you do not have the skill set, and then you're getting remote supervision.
So it's a general dentist putting the braces on the patient,
Patient
but there's
under
an orthodontist
who's
overseeing
working.
that.
Yes.
Right, so that makes it a little safer and a little more kind
It's
of
not
specialized.
safer. It's
Yeah.
according to our closed survey, 88% of general dentists have shown extreme confidence in doing their patients while putting their records on DentiNect. And our accuracy is somewhere around 98%. And how do we work on it? On the paper records, we reduce the 21 minutes chairside time to less than 1 minute at this point, and we intend to go into 3 seconds in the future.
So you're basically trying to help the dentists
Yes.
get access to specialists who can guide them
Doing
in treating the patient with the orthodontics. And it's something that, okay, it's not a life or death thing. You can't exactly perform a heart surgery that way remotely from a specialist, but this can be done. This is doable.
But the thing is that it involves a lot of money, because you as a patient, you're not really aware of the fact that you're going to a specialist or a general dentist. But if you're paying a really huge amount that's almost counting to 70% of your income for a year, and it's expensive treatment, you know, it's aesthetic treatment. So why is that you're not getting the best treatment out of a general dentist who is actually accessible to you in your vicinity? So you're saving time for the orthodontist, you're making money as a general dentist through referrals, and you're also making money as an orthodontic specialist.
Right, so it's a win-win situation
For
for the
everybody.
orthodontic specialists,
Yes.
because they're getting more patients and wherever they may be, and the dentist themselves is now getting guidance, and they're also getting more patients because
Yes.
they're more sort of qualified, their practice is more qualified,
And-
and the patient is actually getting the right type of care they should be getting.
Yes, that's what we did. So it's very simple. We just looked at into the stats. We simply looked at a problem and we came up with a solution. So
Brilliant.
what we
That's
also
brilliant, actually.
so what we also did is that we cracked the code for centralized softwares. A centralized software is something where you actually put an X-ray and it's limited to one desktop. What we did is that we gave a complete cloud-based solution. So you put your X-ray denture into the software, our software, it's going to automate it. And it's cloud-based, so you can access it from anywhere, anytime in the world. And we're 6,000 times cheaper than the centralized desktop shop softwares.
Wow, okay, right. So let me ask you this about orthodontics in Pakistan. What percentage of the population is using it right now? Because up until recently, the perfectly aligned teeth was a very American sort of trademark, you know. Even you'd see in Europe, they didn't have that concept much. And Pakistan, you know, so it's way behind. And you just have this sort of elite level of people who are getting this done because it's expensive. So how far has it gotten in Pakistan?
So you see, you look at Pakistan, what is quoted that almost 83% of the population is using smartphones. So almost 500 million of population, that includes Pakistan too, where 60% are teenagers, are accustomed to social media. And what do the stats say? That the first thing that a person gets conscious about is their smile.
Yeah.
So it has to be affordable, it has to be accessible, and it has to make an impact in a way. So somebody who's really using Snapchat, Facebook, and everything,
You
all
wanna
kind
have
of.
that smile,
So
right?
we are actually the smile givers, the perfect Instagram smile.
Yeah.
So we're making it very affordable because you're not actually going to the specialist, you're going to the GP. and we're providing you the same service or point of care that is through a specialist point of,
So what would it
well-being.
cost, say, an average 17-year-old to get a perfectly straight aligned set of teeth through a service like yours, where they're not paying the orthodontic, office, which is a couple of lakhs? It will cost, the treatment will. What would the price difference be?
I would not actually give you a number, but I can actually give you a percentage where we can say that this is a safe percentage where you can reduce the amount of the treatment for 24 months. So we reduced it between 35 to 55%.
That's huge.
Yes.
That's
what
a
we
huge
achieved.
difference.
Yeah.
So I just had orthodontic treatment for my daughter, and I'm aware of the costs and things like that. But there is going to be a minimum amount of. There is going to be an expense, because this is not like a very regular sort of inexpensive treatment. Orthodontic treatment is expensive.
So, yes, it is. Unlike many other dental treatments, you just go to a dentist and you have 1 or 2 appointments and you're good to done with it. All right. In orthodontist, what happens is that you're going to the same doctor over recurring appointments that might range between 12 months to 24 months to 36 months. So every month, our specialist would actually be guiding you on those notes for the appointment, and that's how we generate our business model too.
Mm-hmm.
So we're saving the specialist enough time to travel and not to travel. GP, the skill set that he was unable to acquire through 5 or 6 years of training. And at the same time, the patient is getting A1 or A+ treatment under the guidance.
So the specialist could be working from home?
Yes,
okay,
that's
wow.
the best part. You just
Okay.
need to tap on into your desktop. It's very personalized, and you can customize it according to your need. And you just put in some notes once a month, and you're good to go.
Right, and is there some kind of specialized technology that they need to actually pinpoint that this is the angle you need on this tooth or whatever, things like that?
No, basic is always, and that's a good thing about where I come from. Gold standard is always on pictures. So we have these automated templates where you can actually take the patient's picture and put them onto our platform. And then there's only one X-ray you need to do in the beginning of treatment. So that is guided through the AI, partly, and machine learning. And later on, at the end of the treatment, it's up to you want to take an X-ray or not. But yes, we help you through our automated guided notes that are inbuilt within the system or our platform, DentiNect. The radiological diagnosis, that's also inbuilt within our platform, and then appointment or CRM scheduler that's reminding you and your patient and the specialist at the same time.
Right, and what are the sort of demographics that you see in this industry?
If we look at the global figures, we see a general gap, an existing gap between a general dental practitioner and orthodontic specialist portfolio, and it's quite huge. If you look at Pakistan, there are 35,000 registered dentists, and I think less than 60 orthodontic specialists at this very point. Same goes for global figures like US. You look at Smile Direct Club, an amazing business model. They went for an IPO. They looked at the same figures. And then if you look at clear aligners, so they targeted a very small niche. Ziad Chishti, the founder, 20% of orthodontic cases, still generating a huge revenue out of it, an amazing business model. In UK, there are only 600 orthodontic specialists and out of 21,000 GPs. In Australia, figure is staggering, 650 specialists over such a huge area and 19,000 GPs. So if you look at the demographics, they're pretty much the same. And when it comes to the patients, 53% of the population does have crooked teeth. I mean, our current generation, they are the most affected because we take very soft diets. And our jaw sizes have changed considerably over past 2 or 3 decades.
Right.
So the problem with crooked teeth, it's increasingly, affecting one's self-esteem, especially in this Instagram age. So we cracked the code and we just built it all together in one platform.
Right, so okay, this is very interesting, that the diet affects whether the teeth of a person are straight or not.
Yes, it does.
Really?
Yes, it does.
Okay, because when you notice sometimes when you go to the northern areas and things like that, you'll see people with perfect teeth and they've never seen or heard of braces or dentists. And then you come to the cities, then you see more of that issue. So
Yes.
it's because of the diet. That's so interesting. It's not genetics.
It's a combination of genetics, but of course, once you're growing up and you're taking hard food or natural food, that's more of an exfoliant to eruption of teeth and proper alignment of teeth.
Wow.
Well, that's not here in the cities with more processed food. It's
Wow.
actually causing more and more problems, not only with general health and well-being, but also dental and other problems that might affect one's self-esteem in longer terms.
Well, that's a revelation to me, because I really didn't know that the diet affects whether people actually have a straight, perfect smile or not. That's really interesting. So the kind of demographics I'm also curious about is age and gender and all of that. Do you see mostly younger people? Is it more the Instagrammers, girls, young girls getting braces done, or do you see some older people also who decide that, okay, I want to fix my teeth even though I'm 60, you know?
Demographics are ideally are between 10 to 14 or maybe 18. That's, and you see girls, and 60% of the patients reporting are young girls who are very conscious, but 40% are men as well. 40% of them are boys or men as well. But you see people from all age groups. They do report to us.
Okay, right. So what's the ideal age for a person to get braces? Because this is something we weren't sure about. Sometimes a child is growing and it seems as if their teeth are starting to align themselves. So parents decide, okay, we don't need to get braces. But then you realize later that no, they need braces. So when do you make that decision? How long are they still forming?
I mean, it varies from person to person. It varies from child to child. But I think first appointment with the dentist should be at 7. But we are also trying to
7.
Yes, but we also
for braces.
No, not for braces. For a general checkup, that might actually suggest that you need braces in the future, or at this very point you need any kind of interceptive treatment. But through our platform, we're also trying to do is that to directly connect the patients with the dentist. So what we're actually trying is that we're helping the patients to take simple pictures from their mobile and provide them virtual care. And during the times of COVID, we were literally doing that for free.
Without x-rays?
Without
Just
x-rays.
your own pictures?
Yes,
of
inside your
teeth?
mouth, you can just scan it and you can share it on our platform. And we would diagnose that for you or provide you a appropriate note for that without charging you anything. So during the times of COVID, we really pivoted our product around patient care as well.
Right.
So this is something that we did in past few months, and apart from that, during the COVID times, during the lockdown, dental practices were negatively affected. Almost 91% of them were closed.
Yeah.
You see, and dentists are generally 8% higher risk of contracting COVID because of the aerosols that are in the environment. So what we actually did was, through our website, we were providing direct marketing channels to our registered dentist without any cost at all. The basic package is still free for most of the dentists who can register with us and use our software or our platform for marketing. And you can become more accessible.
So those dentists are still going to get paid even if the patient is not coming in and the patient is still being seen?
No, those dentists are actually highlighting their private practices, if they are COVID safe or not, in these times without paying us. So we're giving that service free to almost every dentist who wants to publicize himself, and they can save around, I would say, I think $400 on marketing per annum.
Right,
So-
because during COVID times, I mean, I was guilty myself of of my daughter missing some of her orthodontist appointments because you were so scared, you know,
Yeah.
you weren't sure if in clinics what, you know, people are coming in with and things like that, even if they're using SOPs. So was that avoidable?
Well, that was completely avoidable. What me and my team, through technology, amazing things can be achieved. So what me and my team did was that we tweaked our existing platform in a way that it makes dental practices more evidence and more conducive. Rather than charging them any amount, why don't we start labeling the COVID-19 safe practices? If a dental practice is following an SOP and they just, you know, they take a pledge to it and they're doing everything that they are and they're registered with us through our own gateway, then we would know that this dentist is doing so, and we give you an excellent place to market yourself.
So then that kind of gives them a safety certification.
So, yes.
So the patient knows it's safe to go to the clinic.
And
Okay.
dentists are not actually paying you anything additional or paying us anything additional, because we're really trying to help practices during COVID-19. So that, you know, that they're visible enough to other platforms who are charging them so much because they made a good business case out of it, and we and my team, we did not. Yes.
So let me ask you now about your team, because yeah, what exactly is your team? Have you created employment for, say, other women and other families and things like that? Because one thing about entrepreneurship, which is very important, which our current government also stresses on a lot, is that if you encourage entrepreneurship, that stimulates job growth. So how has your business
Look,
impacted
at my
that?
core team, it's mostly based around my specialty, and my co-founder came back from the US and he was in computer sciences. And then we have a mesh of people working in finance and masters. So when I mentioned that we are in a vertical trajectory because we started from point 0 and now we have to go to point 1 because we did not have an approved business model around it. Yes, directly we are creating employments, but indirectly we're also targeting female dental practices or female clinicians. And we are sensitizing them on using our platform so they can actually generate revenue for them through our CRM and ERP tools. That's what we are actually doing. So that's almost 55% of the workforce that we are targeting. And we have been able to train almost 350 clinicians to well manage their practices through our technology and target more patients and streamline their finances and do better
so
job.
You've got your own sort of a small core team, but you're enabling people with their practices to grow.
Yes,
basically.
remote practices especially, because they're not really in touch with what's happening in the capital. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, and what is the potential for being profitable for your company? Where do you end up actually making your sort of profit?
Look, for me, or anywhere in the world, a business has to make profit to be sustainable. So we do generate our revenues through our subscriptions, but it's very minimal. We have a charge that's on a certain percentage on a time that you upload your patient. And of course, at this very point, we're just barely breaking even, and most of the entrepreneurial ventures are.
If so the patients pay a small amount.
Very small amount. And most of the entrepreneurial ventures are now very profitable over 4 or 5 or 6 years. But we've been managing ourselves well, and at the same time, the return on investments are in long term, because almost $883 trillion industry that's owned by like 5 major players, our technology, Google, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, that's almost 50% of world's technology and world's economy. So if you look at it and you look at their trajectory, it's not been smooth, but returns are always in long term. That is what you are about. You know, you see the vision, you see that there's something in the future and something that can actually impact a lot of people through a very small platform.
So your impact is going to be on technology, basically.
Technology meshed with clinical knowledge at the same time, because we're not taking XYZ, we're just taking best of the best and bringing them onto our platform and just creating a huge impact. That's what we're doing.
Right. And do you plan for your business to spread globally? out of Pakistan? Do you wish for that to happen?
I mean, that's everybody's dream, but at this very point, we're really focused to develop a niche market, build a use case, provide our data archives to our researchers, help them, enable them, and then just penetrate into every market that we can get our hands on, because it's a global problem and we have a global solution at DentiNect for it.
Okay, and tell me a bit about disruptors in the healthcare industry. What have you seen in Pakistan and abroad which have really completely changed the healthcare industry and made it sort of more digital and all? And how can you relate your company to those companies?
See, we are only a very few people who are actually making a change. If you talk about global companies, they've been in the market for maybe more than 2 or 3 decades. So things that Pakistan is adapting right now, like building on data, data-enabled diagnosis, artificial intelligence built on data, data archiving, data labeling, telemedicine, indirect supervision, they have been doing it for maybe more than 3 decades. And we've taken on the road, but we're still slow, and it's going to take up some time to catch up to them.
And how big is the potential for you, do you think?
I think after COVID-19, everything has been about telemedicine and teleorthodontics and teledentistry and tele. You see, so even tele-ICU, operations are being done through that. So I think it's almost 70% of the market right now. Those are the business that actually thrived. Brick and mortar is gone.
And you're seeing a lot of businesses go completely digital, and a lot of large businesses, traditional ones, becoming partially digital abroad. What are we seeing in Pakistan with healthcare? I mean, are we going to see partially healthcare going digital? Obviously, you're going to have your brick and mortar hospitals and clinics and all, because patients need to be seen face to face. What percentage of that do you see becoming digital and all across the industry after COVID-19?
I think before the COVID-19 happened, there were only a few players, big names, I will not really take names, but few private players who were digitally enabled. But after COVID-19 happened, it was such a crisis that either the players or the hospitals, public, private, are in a transitionary phase or an adaptive phase. It's going to take time, but yes, they themselves have realized that without digitization, brick and mortar cannot survive.
And healthcare jobs, how many of those in Pakistan do you see becoming sort of remote jobs? Because we're seeing so many of them overseas becoming remote jobs. You know, you've already had data entry and all being remote jobs, but now there's so many other type of administrative ones and all of that. What do you see becoming remote in the future permanently?
You see, because COVID also made us learn that actually we're spending so much of time in commute and traveling, and we're spending so much of time in being in a place and sitting in a place and getting ourselves adjusted to an environment. So better is to save that and then just perform at a higher pace or a level, and express the same potential that's possible to be in a situation where you travel every day and a situation where you can do the same amount of work without traveling and maybe perform better. So,
do you think
it has a very bright future? I think virtual has a very bright future. It has a really, really good future.
So future orthodontists can be completely work from home people this way?
Not completely, because you need to have a patient reporting to you somewhere or a patient sending you a few records. But that is going to minimize the appointments. From 24 we can go to 18 or 16. So that's quite a large number if you reduce the number of appointments or contact appointments. You're saving the patient money, you're saving him time for travel, you're saving yourself time, you're saving yourself the cost on the dental chair. So there are so many things that come together to one point of conversions.
Okay, right. So now what I want to ask you is that being a woman in Pakistan, trying to start a venture like this, we have female doctors, etc. But then to break into an industry which is sort of a disruptor in healthcare, and you're doing something completely new and different and out of the blue, which you seldom hear about anywhere in the world what you're doing. So how has that experience been? Have you faced challenges along the way?
I'll be honest about it. It was quite an excruciating, nerve-wracking experience. I literally lost my mind into it.
Seriously?
I started thinking about it in 2016. That was in the middle of my orthodontic residency, and I could not speak about it aloud because I was in a position not to speak about it aloud. And when I bought a white paper about it, and everybody just winged it on, this is not a possibility, until we developed a prototype and we tested here at NIC. And then people believed that something like this is functional. And then from prototype we went to another stage, and we were getting our real-time data feedbacks through all the users, and then we were incorporating that into our existing technology platform. And when it started working, the two-way communication, that's when people said, okay, this is workable. So it was very painful, and it was a very difficult journey to get from 0 to, I don't know, 0.666, and we still have to go far ahead.
Right, so here we come to NIC, where we're sitting at. They've been very generous to offer their premises for us to do this work and bring all these young, fresh talents out and share them with us and the public. So this is the NIC, is basically the Ministry of Information Technology, and under Ignite, these are the national incubation centers where startup companies sort of flourish from and start from and get their sort of mentoring and all of that, right? So what was your journey? How were you helped by this government initiative?
So, I mean, I was a hardcore clinician. I literally did not know about where to go, right, left, or center. But just one day I snapped and somebody referred me to NIC. And since then they have been very supportive, very generous to take you from wherever you are to at least a point where you can scale up. So it's no strings attached. They're helping every startup on equivocal basis, related to be marketing, business, technology. And they bring specialists from all these areas into, under one roof. And it's amazing because startups or incubators or accelerators outside, if you talk about global ones, they take a certain amount of equity out of business. But they, at NIC, they don't do this. So that means how selfless they are.
Right.
And they're literally doing something that's in the next 15 or 20 years, they might not be able to witness it themselves, but they know that these kids, 90% are going to fail, but the 10%, they're just going to bring Pakistan to another level. So it's very selfless of what NIC has been doing, and it's amazing what help do they give you, not only to me, but so many other startups who've been incubated in so many cohorts, and so much of hard work they put into. So all the entrepreneurial language and all the tech-savvy words that I've been using, it's because I've been mentored by them in 360 degrees.
Right. Okay, so that's very interesting because usually you hear people cribbing about the government and putting hurdles in your way. In this case, it's the opposite, and a government organization is actually being the thrust behind your business, which is an amazing thing to hear. And this is what we'd like to see more of, actually. How about your family? How supportive were they about you doing this? Because, okay, you're a girl again. Now, we're always going to bring the girl angle here because that's always, an issue in Pakistan. How much of this attitude did you see that shadi kar lo, now you've done your medicine, ab kya karna hai, settle down, this, that. As a woman, how supportive was your family? Now, tell the truth. We want to know everything.
Okay. My family is not very tech savvy. They only got to know what I was doing until I started coming in the headlines, or I was selected in some really good international programs. My family thought that was just a hobby, and I was just doing it for the sake of fun. And most of the times when I would try to explain this to my parents, just like the 60s or 50s generation, they would say it's so difficult. But they could not actually understand was that all the long hours, if I was working 21 hours, and maybe at times from home too, and all the extra push that I was giving to my business or DentiNect was because they misinterpreted the hobby with the passion, and that that internalization of the fact that you really want to make a change. So they still don't have an idea what I'm really doing, but they know, yes, she's coming in the headlines, or maybe she's doing something good and she's trying to help somebody, and maybe it's more of a non-profit kind of a thing.
Because parents are kind of thinking, okay, we've put this much into your education and training as a doctor, dentist, and then on top of that, your specialization as an orthodontist. So why aren't you sitting in a clinic and seeing patients, and why are you sitting behind a computer screen doing a business, right?
You see, I actually started doing it when I just took a break between my orthodontic residency and my exit exam. And at that point, that just thought that maybe she just needs to take some air, and it's a hobby. But I'm very much a clinician too. And I immensely enjoy my work. And I would not be shy to say that I love doing what I have been doing. And despite it was a consequence of many unfortunate circumstances, but now when I connect the dots, as Steve Jobs says, this was one of the best things that happened to me.
So you're actually seeing patients while you're doing this company, this startup company?
Yes, I practice in the morning, and I spent some of my time, in fact, a lot of my time on the screen too, and I ran an extra mile to learn basic coding so I could communicate with our developers.
Wow,
And
that's a lot of work.
I was putting my hands into everything where I could learn. And NIC really helped me on the business part, the business acumen, the polishing. They helped me in that way.
Okay, so the business part, the business acumen and polishing often involves funding, and any startup, any new startup needs that. So where did the funds originate from? Whatever it may be, whether it's 5 lakhs or 5 crores, it has to come from somewhere. So how did you manage to build
You
that
say,
up?
Hadi, the Romer guy that mentioned, he's an amazing founder and a great example. And I'm sure he would have invested some of his personal funds into make the investors believe that you're very serious about this.
Right.
So
That's
funding,
you're mentioning a guest from another program
Yes.
who founded Easy Bike. I'm just trying to put it in context.
Yes,
Right, go ahead.
So when nobody believed in us, when nobody believed in me and my core team, so what we did is that we wanted to build a basic thing where we would see things running. And I'm just very proud to say that we completely self-funded.
Wow.
We were very egocentric. Sorry, I was very egocentric. And
Kisi
whatever
se paise nahi maange.
we were
Women often are like that. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to prove to everyone.
We bought all our savings and we put it into something that we believed in, and it's going to reap benefits. But now at this very stage, because we've built something, so we're looking into other options. And in fact, at this very point, we're not the ones who are actually approaching VCs or investors. They are the ones approaching us because they see this working.
Wow.
And now everything is on terms and conditions that we present them, not that they present us. So we are at a very stable point. So if you really want to show that you're serious about something, you actually need to put your own assets other than your time into building that thing.
Right.
And me and my team were very clear on that.
Okay, so now you've also used a lot of new technologies in this. You've listed some of them, which I really have no idea what they are, but I understand AI, blockchain, virtual care, and lamp stack. What is this exactly?
Okay.
How are you using these technologies?
We will not really go into detail of it because the page that you're referring to is something that's our vision that we need to do in the future.
Okay.
All right. So some of the technology is that we're currently using is lamp stack. It's inbuilt with basic machine learning tools. That's product fit for our MVP at this very stage. And yes, we are building our AI. We've started the data labeling. We're reducing the time through that on the clinical flow. But to reach a good accuracy for diagnostics, it is going to take us some time.
Okay.
And once we go global, then inshallah then we would switch on to other payment methods that might involve blockchain. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. And also, you're also ensuring a research platform for students. So tell us a bit about that.
I mean, you've literally tweaked everything that's so close to my heart because at DentiNect, we also created automated research fields. So every time somebody is putting a certain condition, our backend takes that data, it anonymizes it, and in the future, or even at this very present, we are running an orthodontic connected care fund. So every transaction that's performed on our platform, a certain percentage of it goes to an orthodontic resident who really deserves it. Let it be research, let it be indirect supervision, let it be access to
funding them.
Yes.
Okay.
Through every transaction that's performed on our system, we allocate a fund to our orthodontic residents all across Pakistan.
So the areas that you're going to be
R&D
there's skill development that
for
you
the
mentioned?
GPs. Yes,
Okay,
perfect.
right. Critical thinking.
Critical thinking, because I was one of the critical thinkers, and breaking the glass ceiling was not easy because I wanted the care to be accessible to every dental patient with crooked teeth. So yes, we're helping the clinicians to think in other fields of dentistry on same basis, and we give them funds for that from our own transaction system. So if you even need access to index journals, we would give you that, because one article costs around $35. So we're
Yeah.
slashing it to, I mean, not even $1, maybe $2. If you need indirect supervision on your orthodontic exams, like European Orthodontic or MORTH or any other membership exam, we would actually let you in with our specialists who are already with us. And they have pledged to us that they would help our orthodontic residents all across Pakistan, across all orthodontic training centers, to help our residents. Yes.
And okay, you're also giving scholarship grants?
Yes, we are. So partially we're also funding their researches. So for anybody who does not have, you know, research completed or does not have enough citations, they can completely access our platform and carry our research, and we would give them ideas around it.
Okay, great. And then indirect supervision?
That I've already mentioned.
And exchange programs?
Exchange programs. All the knowledge that came to me was from a handful of exchange programs that I, you know, went outside Pakistan and learned a few things on softwares and in orthodontic departments. And yes, a major reason that a lot of people do not go outside and come back and teach other residents is because they don't have the funds to do so. So if you're an amazing orthodontic resident anywhere in Pakistan, just contact us, and next 1.5 years we'll just build onto it and, you know, exchange you or your talent pool with anywhere in the world.
That's
We're
excellent.
connected.
That's brilliant. All right, so all of these things that you're providing, all of these opportunities for other people and all, it's amazing. I mean, we're very, very proud of you. You've shown that this is medically sound, business-wise it's sound, technology-wise it's sound.
Data is perfectly safe too.
That's what I was gonna
GDPR
ask you.
compliant.
How safe is the patient data?
Okay, so now I'll tell you, we are the only platform in Pakistan, only platform in Pakistan that is general data protection compliant. We built our entire platform around those guidelines where patients' anonymity, patient's data is completely safe. So you can put your patient's data, or even on your pictures, without ever being found out or without ever being breached.
Okay, and you've been now in business for a couple of years. You started out in 2016 with the concept.
That was when I actually conceptualized it, but I registered in 2018, but we formally started our operations in 2019.
Very new.
Yes, and actually our go-to-market was halted because of COVID for 6 months, because in dentistry most of the workshops are direct workshops, and there has to be a lot of direct contact with the GPs and specialists. So we had a break of 6 months during the COVID period, but then during that time we tweaked our product. So that's what we leveraged, and we have had our complete go-to-market launch in October 2020. So we've already been in the market for less than 3 months.
Wow.
With almost user acquisition rate of 7 dentists per day, and we've registered more than 350 dentists, and we've contracted with 2 or more data centers.
Right. Any?
Yes.
Have you been getting feedback from your clients?
We have actually, you know, feedback is so important. Even with my blog, you would see that I'm really interacting with the user base. You know, I ensure that I go and talk to them and ensure that what is the problem that they face. And on the basis of that feedback, we intend to build our next product.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So, and then you also have future plans of launching with academic institutions.
We've already launched.
You've already launched
yes,
that?
we've given them a use case build up.
Okay. And then you also want a future AI pilot project in Asia, Africa, and Europe.
Yes, we would start from Pakistan, and then we need to go to our neighbors.
Okay.
That's our vision.
Right. And then you also mentioned something about dental tourism.
Oh yeah, because I think Pakistan is a very thriving economy, and I think there are so many amazing dentists here in bigger cities, and almost 20.2 million Pakistanis are expats. So a lot of revenue that's coming into Pakistan is from outside to the expats. So what we really want is whenever an expat who comes to Pakistan and wants to get his teeth fixed, because treatment is really expensive outside, we lead them to the best dentist in an area, connect to them, and then get their treatment in few appointments, and maybe help them see few places
like
in the city.
A bit of a travel agency going on the side over there.
So it's going to, I think
brilliant.
that's going to generate a lot of revenue for Pakistan, a lot of it.
That's brilliant. I mean, really a great concept, and it seems to be, you know, doing really well and everything. What would you like to tell now girls in this country who want to be entrepreneurs? Should they go for it, or should they go for the 9-to-5 job? Is this going to be an uphill battle? And what kind of stubbornness or temerity do they need to be an entrepreneur in Pakistan?
You just need to go against all the odds. Now, I tell you, the girls especially, it's not easy. And at times, I've been kicked out of meetings being said that, next time you sound more smarter than the big guys. So there can be things that are very harsh that revolves around you being a woman. There are going to be a lot of challenges, but I give you 3 giveaways. Keep the outcome in the mind, have your vision planned, build a really good team. Team is your power, who believe in you, even if it's 1 or 2 people, and just get the best of the people with the same kind of values next to you, and just keep them very strong knit around you. Don't let them go. Don't worry about revenues. Think about getting the number of people or users right in the beginning, and just sky is definitely a limit.
Sky is definitely the limit. So where do we expect to see Sundas Wahid and DentiNect in the next 10 years? Are you going to be one of those tech moguls in Pakistan, one of the giants here? I hope so. What is your vision for your company?
I measure my success in impact matrix. So the number of female clinicians that we've actually helped, the number of researchers that we've helped on with, and the number of people who are sensitized to it, or the number of patients who were actually coming back to us through our platform. So I measure my success in very different terms, but definitely a startup with a very global approach needs to go global. And for me, I think if we penetrate into Europe and Asia with our product, and very improved product, that will be my next 10-year vision.
Right, so wonderful, wonderful. I mean, really, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Sundas, because really your enthusiasm is contagious. Regardless of the fact that all the struggles you've gone through, it's important to put that out there. Girls and women need to see that this is going to happen, and it's normal, and you keep on fighting, right?
Yes,
you keep pushing forward, and there's always places where you make that breakthrough.
Yes,
right?
we do.
So brilliant. I'm very proud of you,
I'm so happy to be part of this, and Sharmeen, it's really kind of you that, you took me on this, though that we are at a very beginning of our, venture, but we've given years into it, and we've given years of hard work and dedication into it, and that the tip of the iceberg that you see, it took a lot of tenacity, and it was a lot of failures and a lot of resilience.
Yeah.
So you only see the little small part, but there's a huge story behind it.
Absolutely, and those are the stories that we like to show on our program. And naturally, what you're doing, it's the beginning, but then the sky's the limit, right, to where you're going to reach. And we'll be keeping a watch on you, and hopefully we'll be interviewing you another time soon and show where your company is led to. So thank you so much, Sundas, for joining us on our program.
Welcome. It was
today.
A pleasure to be with you, and thank you to your team too.
Right. Thanks a lot. Viewers, thank you so much for joining us today on Sky's the Limit. Again, we've shown you a young entrepreneur in Pakistan, a woman who's sort of swimming against the tide and trying to launch her own business, and she has done it. And the success is shown in the type of attention that you're seeing that they're getting, DentiNect in the media, and also by the fact that VC firms are actually approaching their company themselves. That shows that this company has something solid there and has a future. So brilliant work to Sundas Wahid and DentiNect, and we hope to see them do extremely well in the future. And all these young budding entrepreneurs, let's give them all the support that we can. And always remember that there will be challenges, especially being a female in Pakistan, but you have to overcome them, as you can see from our guests in the program today. Thank you for joining us today on our program. I'd also like to give a special thanks to the Ministry of Information Technology and to Ignite, who have offered us their premises for this program and for arranging all these brilliant young entrepreneurs to be showcased to our viewers. We'll see you next time on same day, same time on Sky's the Limit. That's goodbye from now.